So my name is Caesar Christoforidis. I work for a company called Social Bakers. My digital career started just over 10 years ago. We were so excited about web pages, and then came the era of building them, and then people liked Flash, and then Google came on the scene, and everybody realized that Flash pages didn't actually work for search crawling. So it was a magnificent time. A lot of money was made. And then around about 2008, social media was making such a huge noise, and I couldn't help to think that it was the future for marketeers, and that's why I decided to move into social in 2012, and I haven't looked back. What we've witnessed actually over the last 2 years specifically is quite astonishing in the way that the velocity of the technology has really reached CMOs in particular. We've gone from ordering online to now letting people open your doors so that they can let themselves in. We've also now very wary of Uber, and I believe that there is a company now specifically just set up by one man, but it only has women drivers, driving women around. So it's all due to technology. So it's a wonderful place to be in. As a good Latino, I've been hammering Trump as well. I've helped CNN to come up with a couple of really good stories to beat Mr. Trump down, especially on his followership. But what I do want to frame, and I want to first of all thank the Formula team, is for crafting this, beautifully orchestrated command center room, because I think that the challenges is right in front of us. There is a lot of noise. The ecosystem is growing ever so fast, and if we look at where we need to focus our budgets, it becomes quite apparent that there's quite a lot of platforms to make the decisions on. So I'll be talking a little bit more about the best practices and how we help clients in particular to focus on their audience and where they can capture them. But for now, I'd like to hand it over to one of my favorite research companies, James Galpin, who's going to talk to you about getting media right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Am I on now? Yes, good. Okay, thank you all for coming to the session. I hope what I have to share will be reasonably interesting, and I think a reasonably good setup for the rest of the sessions in here and across the conference. What I'm going to talk to you about today, I'm going to spend about 15 minutes talking about an industry study that we're running. Well, normally I'm here and I'm normally presenting learnings that we've got from all the work we've done amongst consumers. But Getting Media Right is a study that we've run in the US for about 4 or 5 years, where we've looked at the key issues affecting the industry and the challenges that marketers, media professionals, and media owners, publishers face in the media area. From our perspective as a business, our whole media and digital business has to evolve to meet those challenges and needs. So it's really powerful and useful for us. But I think it provides a talking point, a point of view for the industry to share and discuss and see whether your perspectives align or are different to these. So a little bit of background to the study. As I said, started in the US a few years ago. We've done it every year since. This year, for the first time, we ran a global study. Now, that was great, and there's some really interesting global learnings, and that's most of what I'll be sharing with you today. Unfortunately, in our global sample, we got some responses from LATAM, but not a lot, and we couldn't break out. Yes? Sure, sorry. No problem. I'll slow right down. Apologies. So we, unfortunately, in the global study, we did not collect many responses from LATAM. But because we have a close partnership with Formula, we realized there was an opportunity here because actually the people we want the points of view from are here. So hence, I think most of you have probably had emails inviting you to take part in the survey. And we're running a follow-up Formula Getting Media Right study, partnership between us and Formula. And it isn't closed yet. We're going to continue collecting responses for the next couple of weeks. But I'm going to share you some top lines today. So the global perspective and some LATAM comparisons. But this is not the finished story for LATAM. And what am I asked to all of you is, if you haven't already, please complete our survey. So I'll come back to that at the end as well. Hang on, just trying to get my moving. So in the study this year, we identified 4 main themes. The first is get equipped. Today's world is largely data-driven. No news to any of us there. Compelling marketers to embrace and master data that will help inform their media decisions. So much we all know. One of the things we explore in the survey, and I'm going to give you really top level, just a few pieces of data from the study. The full report globally has a lot more depth in, and so will the LATAM report, which we'll issue once we've finished collecting our sample from as many people as possible. But one of the areas that we explore is what data drives their decision making. And what we were told at a global level, and the global numbers here are the purple ones, just so you can easily recognize them, and the red ones are the LATAM add-ons based on our current feedback. About 50 responses from LATAM so far, but we're looking to get over 100 in total, so we'll keep it open for a while. The channels that best reach our target audience is the most important data source, so reach and understanding of delivery. Channels that have been successful in the past, so past experience, past learning about channel performance, and channels that can be easily measured or demonstrate ROI. So those are the top 3 at a global level, and actually the LATAM story is very similar. There are some nuances which I think, if you understand the business in our region, and just to be clear, I am English, but I live in Mexico and I've been working across LATAM for about 4 years, so I am part of it. One day I'll present in Spanish even, but not now. So in our region, those are still important. They're still part of the top points, but actually a couple, the strongest points so far for us have been channels that have been successful in the past and cost. Now, cost is important everywhere, but then if you think about the context of the global study, a lot of the responses come from some of the bigger, more developed media markets, a lot from North America, the US, a lot from Europe, and so on. And it probably partly drives their perspective. The budgets they're deploying in those markets are huge. Yeah? I'm not saying cost isn't important, it still is an important factor here, but it just isn't quite such a sensitive issue. Now, if we're working in media and digital campaigns across LATAM, we know that the budgets are really constrained and cost is really critical. So cost is a bigger factor. But the general pattern is the same. Yeah? We've got to reach the right people, and we want proof of performance, and the price needs to be right. Yeah? Both globally and in LATAM. Sorry, just having a problem moving. Perhaps more concerning, that's all nice to know, the data that clients are currently drawing on and helping to make their decisions. This is probably a bit of a wake-up call for quite a few people in the room on the agency side, and it'll be interesting to see if the advertisers think this is the case. But the feedback from the global study, and I can't share this data for LATAM because we don't have a prior year, and what I think is really important here is the trend. Yeah? But there are 2 things here. We asked in the study, remember, these are all senior decision makers from the advertiser, agency, and media owner publisher side. So we asked in the study how confident they are in their media mix. Now look at the absolute numbers and the difference between advertisers and agencies. Something's not connecting. About half as many advertisers think the media mix is being got right, and about a large majority of agencies are absolutely sure they're on the money. Even more worrying is the trends are in opposite directions. The advertisers think it's getting worse, and the agencies think it's getting better. Now, it might just be a communications issue, but there's a gap there somewhere that we as an industry have to try and solve. My suspicion, but I don't know this, is probably a lot to do with the types of data we're using. The things that drive agency decision-making and selecting the mix are not actually the things that get it over the line from a marketer's perspective. I'll come back to that point as well. And we're a research business. So clearly we want to understand from our perspective, this is a really useful piece of work because it helps us understand where we need to focus our efforts and how we need to develop our solutions and the things that we're offering to clients to help them address their needs in the media and digital space. So one of the things we want to explore are perceived gaps in research. And on this chart, you'll see the LATAM numbers again at the low. Actually, I realize the colors aren't all that clear up here. They're a lot clearer down there. So the red ones, they are sort of red, and the gray ones are sort of gray on the bigger screens. But that's both LATAM and global data, the pattern, the actual orange bar is the global pattern, yeah? So there is a small difference in priorities on the LATAM, but basically the story's the same, yeah? And the really big gap is cross-platform, digital and traditional, and cross-device, mobile, desktop, etc. measurement. They don't feel that they've got good visibility in that area. Yeah? So maybe that's one of the sources of disconnect. Maybe agencies are focusing on performance by channel, but less the integrated whole. So feeling they're doing a great job with each individual channel equals great in total. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it needs to be a more integrated perspective. Or maybe it's focused more on delivery metrics, you know, volumes and clicks and things like that, and less on brand impact. What's it actually done for the marketer business? I'm putting up these as hypotheses, not answers, and you'll all have your own perspectives. So please complete the survey and share them. There are open questions where we want people to tell us. But clearly there's an issue there. There's a gap we have to close, and there are big gaps in knowledge and understanding in the industry that we need to address. Not just us, but the industry as a whole. Sorry, I'm clicking and it's not moving, so I apologize. Get it pinked. The second big theme that came through the study is getting synced. You know? Integration is key to successful marketing these days. I think we all know that. It's not, again, these headlines aren't necessarily particularly surprised. In today's connected world, it's critical. You know? Consumers work across platforms, they work across devices, they work across traditional and old, they touch brands in all of those places. There isn't a separate life of a brand in platform A versus platform B. From a consumer's perspective, it connects, and everything is connected. Yeah? So integration is really important. Sorry. I'll get it moving in a moment. And then what globally marketers are telling us is that they struggle to understand how their brand performs across all channels. And this theme keeps coming back through this study. The focus on cross-channel, cross-platform performance and the inadequacy of single platform, single channel measurement in helping marketers do the best job they can in the media and digital space. So it's tough to assess how well brands perform across channels. Everybody agrees. The advertisers agree, the agencies agree on this, the media agree, advertisers most strongly. LATAM, we don't have enough sample to break it out into the buckets, so I've just given you an overall number. But in LATAM, we all agree, yeah? But it's a tough thing to do, we can't do it very well at the moment. So it's an issue we need to address. Sorry, it's very elegant, this, waving around like that. So the third big theme that comes through from the Getting Media Right study is get optimized. There is a constant need to optimize, improve performance of media. And this is probably a little bit more focused back into the individual channels and making them work as hard as they can. I don't think the cross-channel completely goes away. But in this study, partly because when we started it, it tended to focus more on the migration into digital. We tend to take a little deeper a little bit of a deep dive around digital issues here. So these are the key challenges that we're told from the respondents in the study at a global and LATAM level are their top tactical challenges, particularly more focused in the digital space in terms of making it work for them. And the size of the blob indicates the level of endorsement, yeah, just so more importance. Nice, easy reference visually. Viewability and brand safety are the standout concerns at a global level. And with LATAM, I've only put the top three down just to keep the chart simpler. And because I was having to copy-paste data last night to get it up to date, the best sample I could. But the top three are pretty much the same, yeah? Viewability and brand safety is still important. A bigger concern still in LATAM is ad fraud. Now, I'm not sure if that reflects, again, the nature of our global sample. Bigger, more developed ecosystems in the US and Western Europe may be better on top of the issue of ad fraud now. They may have more confidence in that space, whereas in LATAM, we don't have all of the tools and capabilities in place yet, maybe, to manage. I don't know. It's, again, a hypothesis. But the point is that viewability and brand safety, even bigger concerns, if anything, in LATAM than globally, but important everywhere. So that is a key focus when we're getting back into the digital performance side and understanding what we're delivering. Sorry. Come on, you can do it. There we go. And the fourth theme, the final theme, get validated. It's very clear through all of the feedback we get from the study. As I say, we have open-end questions in there as well. There is a constant pressure to prove the value of marketing investments. Yeah? And it's the most fundamental challenge that marketers face. As this, whoops, sorry, I've got to jump back one now. This slide shows. So these are the top 5 global in blue strategic marketing challenges, and then the top 3 from LATAM below. Yeah? And the 2 big standout ones. Measuring, proving ROI, understanding omnichannel consumer behavior. Cross-channel, cross-device, and ROI. Yeah? And yes, they're critical for LATAM too. There's a slightly bigger focus on optimizing media investment in LATAM than in the global data. Again, that may reflect that in some markets, the sort of the level of optimization because of the tools and techniques and the data available may be slightly more sophisticated in some markets than across all LATAM markets. But still, the theme is pretty consistent at a LATAM level as it is globally. So measuring and proving ROI is absolutely key as a marketing challenge. And this is where the sort of positive news for this is in the industry, and this is an industry call out. This is when we ask marketers, would they increase spending if the ROI measurement within a touch point or channel or improved, yeah? And the answer is yes across all, but most of all, cross-channel, cross-device. If we can crack cross-channel, cross-device measurement, marketers are willing to significantly, the vast majority of marketers, look at the numbers and percentage terms, increase investment into our industry. Now, obviously, marketers don't just want to spend money for no reason at all. They have to justify budgets internally. So if they can prove that investment in marketing is paying back for their business, the business will allocate more investment to a marketer. A marketer wants a bigger budget, but it has to be justified in business terms to get it. Clearly, the agency and publisher media owner sector benefits enormously if we can help our clients prove that their marketing investments are good investments for their business, so they get allocated more money and more budget because that budget flows through to the rest of the industry. So if the industry really wants to grow and improve and give us all better opportunities, and me more chance to sell more research, we really have to crack cross-channel, cross-device. Single platform, single channel measurement is nice, but not good enough, yeah? And if we really want to grow the business, there's a big opportunity here if we can improve that area. So just to recap quickly, 4 key themes: get equipped, build a network of trusted sources for confident decision making, get the right data and the right type of data. 2, get synced, integrate and align strategies, channels and messages, work across, not through individual channels. We have to make it work across channels. Get optimized. We haven't had time to get into it here, but we explore the whole issue of real-time quite a lot. And there is clearly a need for faster, quicker optimization, and that's probably more focused on within-channel performance, just making sure it's working as hard as it can. But act on data in as close to real-time as possible. And it won't always be perfect real-time, but as close as we can get to it to help us make better decisions and adjustments faster, course correct, etc. And then finally get validated, and that's really the big opportunity for us and in this industry, because if we can get that right, more money will flow our way. But we're competing with other calls on budgets in our clients' companies. So we have to be able to justify that another dollar in marketing is the right place for the next dollar. And we have to help our clients get there. Yeah? So measuring ROI of all channels, improve results. And just to finish up, I'm almost done. Cross-channel and cross-device are the keys to best-in-class marketing. It's pretty clear. It's what clients want. It's what they know they need to do. It's where consumers are. But it's also very clear that it represents the biggest gap and the biggest challenge to us as an industry that we need to address. We need to do more, better work in that way. We as a research business have to develop solutions that can deliver that type of insight in a more timely and effective way to our clients. Publishers have to facilitate. They're often the gatekeepers on our ability to even go to multi-channel, to be frank. So the publisher media owner side have to look at that and be more open to that. And agencies clearly have got to facilitate and help and be part of that process too. In the end, they'll be the ones who are putting the evidence to work. So understanding the value of all channels and their impact in integrated campaigns will see you on the right path to getting media right. And that's a quick flying visit to the Getting Media Right study. As I said, the study is still open for LATAM, so we really do want as many of you to participate as can. The link here is the link to the study itself. You've also got a flyer. Oh, I meant to pick it up so I could wave it at you in your bags with the link on. Share it with your colleagues. We want as many point of view as possible. If we got 500 responses, I'll be delighted. We want to get at least 100, and we want to reflect the full breadth of perspective from across the region, from different markets, from regional roles, and everything. So please do feel free to share with your colleagues too. We want professional opinions, media decision, marketing decision makers from across the industry. And then if you want to get a little bit more depth on the global report, link there, you can download it, register and download a copy of the full global report. Will give you a bit more depth on some of the things I've touched on just now. It's me finished. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you very much, James. Do you want to stay behind for a couple
Yeah,
of minutes?
sure.
Should we get a couple of questions thrown at James? Anybody wants to challenge him? Yeah. Estefania, can you help us with the mic? Thank you. If you could just introduce yourself as well, please. Thanks.
Thank you. Hello. There we go. I'm Felipe. I work at IPG Media Brands with the Unilever account for Latin America. I've seen James in a lot of presentations. We've done a lot of cross-media studies, and you guys have helped us a lot into moving the investment into into most representative channels. I have some questions about ROI, because when I take a look at the other presentations from your countrymen, Les Binet and Peter Field, and they're also presenting how to get media right and how to become more accountable into how media impacts marketing activities. What they state is not the opposite, but a pretty challenging point that says that this focus on ROI, specifically for CPG brands and brands that have a different cycle of consumption, this focus on accountability and quick accountability is killing the effectiveness of brands, because the shift of brand building versus brand activation, it's becoming a bit, how do you call it, unbalanced. They used to recommend 60-40, 60 is the classical 60-40 of the long and short, but it's now a bit more like 50-50, and this is consistently across the last 10 years, all of the effectiveness in the campaigns in the UK has been falling and falling.
Yeah.
And they blame ROI into that. And they say this crazy focus into ROI that a client wants to sell some new soap and wants 3 months to get results is crazy. But we all feel like, okay, this message of if we are better improving ROI, we will get the industry back to where it was or better.
So,
your point of view on that?
I mean, there's actually no disagreement from our perspective on that at all. I think the real nitty-gritty of it is how do you define ROI? Because what happens is that people look at short-term response metrics. Now, this isn't a problem with market mix modeling, which is mostly what's driven Mr. Binnett and Mr. Field's analysis, or even in digital, the bloody click-through rate things and everything else. There's a lot more to ROI than the short-term blip you get from shoving an ad in front of someone's face, whether it's on TV or it's in digital. ROI comes from long-term acquisition. That means multiple purchases over time. What sits behind that is brand relationship. So ultimately, we have to show that brand advertising delivers a long-term financial benefit. But focusing on ROI does not mean just focusing on short-term response, because that breaks brands just like you've described. So it's absolutely fundamental in this space that we define ROI correctly. And we don't think that a short-term response metric is it. And I've seen analysis from our own database where we do lots of brand lift studies that focus on equity uplift in strengthening brand equity against click rates. There is no relationship. Nielsen have done studies of sales uplifts from all of their data versus click rates. There is no relationship, yeah? So there are tons of things that we get wrong when we think we're doing ROI. So the truth is it's still the critical answer, but we don't necessarily answer it as well as we could. And if we only answer based on short-term analytics, then we're not answering it correctly. Because I don't just want to know about the extra purchase I got this week. I want to know that I continue to get purchases from that person into the distant future because they are more attached to my brand and I'm further up their preference ladder than any other competitor in the category. And that isn't immediate response.
Quick follow-up. Do you see a path to this long-term thinking? Because I don't see it. I just see everybody in the industry is, I want to move on right away, create something, then go to the next job. And as a cultural thing, we're moving that way. So it becomes very difficult.
There is a challenge in short-termism. There's a challenge because because of the immediacy, the ability to course correct on the fly, maybe means we don't stand back long enough. And I think we have to be honest with ourselves about it. I don't think there's an easy answer to it. But, you know, short-termism is being criticized in many ways, in many different contexts around the world now, be that shareholder investments, be that media behaviors online or even in traditional media now. And, yeah, we have to keep fighting that fight, and we have to stand back. And part of it's the limitation of measurement tools. It's a hard thing to measure long-term return. You know, we're constantly working at trying to build models that show the relationship between brand equity and long-term sales and profit. And we find relationships there. But it's not easy to quickly set up a study that converts, you know, an input today into 5 years' worth of long-term benefit. So there are big challenges in the measurement space, and in the world environment in which we operate in, the business environment in which we operate in. But it doesn't change the right answer. We just have to address those and try and be honest about it. But if we rely too much on the short term, we run into the problem that Mr. Field and Mr. Bennett have identified. We actually destroy our brands behind us while patting ourselves on the back for our brilliant media efficiency, which is not a good place to go.
Thank you. Thank you very much, James. Thanks for the question.